Hello, Dr. Stowe. I'm glad to be back with you. This is part 2 of a new approach to teamwork. Here we're going to look at the process of managing a team. What steps do we have to take exactly? And I think this is going to reduce a lot of the frustration and aggravation and personality conflicts if we all get on the same page as to exactly what's involved in setting up a team. Let me explain that this teamwork process that we've developed for Lander is based on an objective of creating greater productivity. Productivity means how much time does it take to accomplish something. I hear all too often students say, oh, I had to work 10 hours on this. And the actual outcome was maybe 1 or 2 sources and a little bit of fluffy, puffy narrative. Man, that is just not productive. What we're trying to do is to create a process that has the highest level of outcome, less wasted time, and is efficiently put together. So we've got to invest in time to build the team. Now, there'll be maybe a face-to-face meeting, but this whole virtual team concept has been built into the process. In other words, all of you work, you have conflicting schedules, you're taking too many courses given the amount of homework that your faculty are supposed to impose on you. So what we have to do is reorient you to being very efficient and not having to have meetings, but to use the technology that Blackboard provides. And we'll be talking about that as we go along. Also, we want to acknowledge that it's the outcome that's valued. When you buy a meal at a restaurant or you buy clothing, you don't care how much effort has gone into it. What you care about was the meal warm and correct when they presented it to you, right? And are your clothes holding together, or are they poorly made and just fall apart immediately? You don't care really what effort was put into it. Well, that's the real world. And you've got to be able to coach and evaluate others, because that's part of what management does. And if you aspire to even being a supervisor, well, you're going to need to be able to do that. The expectations of teams in college. Now, what most people figure is that a team project is really no more than what any single individual could do for a paper. I'll tell you, your faculty have been told that isn't going to cut it anymore. We're not designing team projects so that one person who's very ambitious and determined to get a high grade lifts everybody along who does not a whole lot. That's not effective teamwork in a real business either. You're not going to pay 4 salaries or 6 salaries for what one person can do on their own. So, you're going to find that not everyone has the same value set. And this is where we put a new policy in place at Lander University. No longer are the floaters going to get the same team grade as the team project. On the contrary, the way we have the self-assessment and what's called 360-degree feedback, where the professor's feedbacking on each person, but also you are evaluating yourself and what is the value of the contribution you made to the team. You're going to have to evaluate yourself. And other teammates are going to evaluate you. Now, you engage in collusion where everyone says, oh, let's just give everybody an A. Your team and each member will get an F in the course. Don't tell me that everyone did the same level of contribution. They might have contributed the same amount of time. That's not the criteria. The criteria is how valuable was their particular contribution to the outcome and the goal of exceeding client expectations. All right, the critical steps. Here's a list. Now, you've got this PowerPoint where you can print it out. You need to have this available to you for future courses. Your marketing courses, your finance courses are now going to require a team project, and your professors have been told and have been given copies of all this material. So, get this down. The intellectual capital inventory assessment, where each person ranks themselves. Then the team coordinator puts them together, gives a profile of the team, who is strong in what, so that we do not equally assign the same task to each person. That is old-fashioned. You would not run a football team that way. You wouldn't have people rotate. Everybody gets a chance to be the quarterback. You'd never have a winning team. Now, the other issue is the selection of the leader versus the coordinator. Now, look at what the leader is about. Vision, organizing the strategy for research, conducting meetings, or at least the discussion boards, final compiler of inputs, and the designer of the final outcome. That's the leader. The coordinator, and the leader, by the way, is someone who's very sort of visionary, creative, imaginative, understands the whole big picture. The coordinator, frankly, is somebody who's introvert, a nagger, attention to detail. They sit and they do their little crossword puzzles. That's the kind of person you want for a coordinator. Okay? And they're going to keep track of who's doing what and not. They're going to use a program in Blackboard called Journal so that they can do that. They're going to communicate to remind teammates of deadlines. They're going to be a nag, polite nag, but they're going to be a nag. They're going to pull the alarm when somebody's failing to do their work and get a contingency plan initiated. Again, they're going to keep a log and minutes from any face-to-face meetings. They're the one who's in the real world would be called a chief operating officer or chief of staff. Okay, step 2, you got to understand the project. In the real world, the client or the employer will meet with the team. In this case, if it's not an outside client, and some of them might be, by the way, then you're going to have an opportunity to talk to your professor and interview your professor. Now, understand, a client or a professor is never going to reveal the entire scope of the problem. If they do, then what you're being used for is almost manual. In other words, I need to know this, 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 and this, and here are the sources. This, and this. Heck, that doesn't require any brain power. That doesn't leverage people's abilities and specializations. So you're going to get instructions that don't tell you everything. The client memorandum, if we use one, or the professor's assignment, it's not going to provide you all the information. It's not going to ask all the right questions. So look at what I've written here. What are the specific outcomes the client says they want, but what do they actually need? And you need to make up 2 lists. What is the client asking for so that you can check off exactly what they asked for, and to exceed expectations, this other list, what do they need to know? What problem are they not really talking about, or they didn't clarify that they need help with? All right. The team contract. I'm going to provide you with a sample in the manual that I'm working on. By the end of this course, you're going to have a copyrighted manual that is written with all the templates that I'm discussing. The intellectual capital inventory template, the team contract, and as you can see, everybody's got to sign it and read it, and it's got the job definitions of the team leader versus the team coordinator. We're not going to burn somebody out who decides they want the A and the other people are too busy to bother. Okay, we're not going to do that. We've got two positions where normally you all only appoint one, and in the real world it doesn't work that way. There's always a CEO or president, big vision, and there's always somebody who's writing the code and doing the detail work. And I can give you 1,000 examples of companies formed that way. Now, the next thing to do is to develop a strategy and a work plan. This has got to be in writing. Now, here, the writing, the putting it together, the work plan, is the team coordinator. But the coordinator is going to converse with you either through email or through discussion board. Absolutely last resort, a meeting. I don't like meetings. Don't do it. Organize yourself to use the technology. Okay? You're going to have a list of tasks, deadlines, and the deadlines are always about 4 days early so that if the person assigned flakes out, the contingency plan goes in and others do the work. Okay. Again, the assignments are not based equally. They're based on the intellectual capital inventory. Don't ask somebody who doesn't know how to use the electronic library to do the research. They need to get that skill. If they go to Mr. Adam Haig, he can help. But otherwise, put your best people on the research. And they can maybe do graphics or presentation effort or interviews with people. All right? We're not measuring people on the basis of amount of time, but how much value they give to the outcome. And I've given a little example on this slide. Okay, next. The importance of research. I cannot stress this enough. Don't ever write on any memos to me, in my opinion. I don't mean to be rude, but you're 22 years old, okay? I'm a little older than you are. And I can tell you your employers mostly will be older than you. They are not going to find it very convincing for you to say, in your opinion. Excuse me. The way that you build credibility is to have excellent sources. And that's why all government memos have the references at the top of the page, right above the subject line, so that the boss can look down those sources and say, this person is an idiot and used lousy sources, or this person is impressive. These are credible sources. You will build and promote yourself much faster in a company if you learn this technique. Okay, so credibility is crucial. In the format that I have recommended, you will attach the copies of the articles. The business of plagiarism is claiming to say, in my opinion, or write these factual, unsupported declaratory statements with no reference. I can tell you, in the real world, plagiarism isn't a problem. No. Because anybody that does it is going to be viewed as an idiot. That's simple. You just won't have credibility. If you give attribution, recognition, to where you got the source, and the source is credible, your credibility goes up, and you will end up getting promoted ahead of the smart Alex from Clemson, Harvard, USC, or other prestige schools. Remember, it's your credibility and reputation that's at stake, and using good references and citing them elevates you in the eyes of the reader. All right, the coordinator and the team leader are going to pull together the research. Now, there'll be a team of some other people maybe that like writing. They don't know how to research, but they're okay at writing. Great. They and the coordinator and team leader will diagnose and kind of go through the drafts that you have submitted that have explained what you found in the research relevant to the client. You get me? So you do a draft as a researcher, then the team of coordinator, team leader, and a couple of writers, they take over from there. Got it? Now, the coordinator and team leader are also going to decide, do we have enough? Because if you make a foundation out of sand, your house is going to sink or fall apart. Guaranteed in this rainy weather. So what you need to do is make sure that you will respond positively to the coordinator and team leader who may say, you know, this isn't enough. We need more on this and this. Good. Next step, final draft. You got to make sure there's no fatal errors. Now, the coordinator's probably, pardon the expression, anal enough, detailed enough to nitpick through the commas and the spelling and all that. If not, you better appoint somebody who is. Okay? Now, another team is going to put together the PowerPoint. Here, it's probably somebody who's not that good at research, but great at graphics, great at bullet points, great at making presentation effective and dynamic. And then you need to rehearse with friends. You revise the draft, you modify the work plan, you get some fresh eyes helping with the final draft, maybe some roommates or something. You rehearse the PowerPoint, and the coordinator should clean up that journal-type program that's in Blackboard. It's called Journal, so that they have a clean log of everyone's activities. Now, the last steps, of course, are to deliver the presentation and the report, and then to do a wash-up and evaluation. And that's in the next video. Thanks for watching this. I hope it was helpful.